Like a lot of 80s kids, Masters of the Universe was a big part of my childhood. From hounding my mum to buy me the toys, to watching the cartoons on repeat, it is still one of the only interests that have carried over from being a kid to this adult in his 40s. The origins of He-Man and Masters of the Universe began in 1976, when Mattel CEO Ray Wagner knocked back a request to create a toy line of action figures for a little upcoming film called Star Wars. This left Kenner Toys to swoop in on the film's toy rights. Seeing the massive success of the film and merchandise related to it, Mattel made several attempts to compete with Kenner, but everything changed when Roger Sweet presented 3 prototypes to Mattel. These prototypes were an axe-wielding barbarian, a tank-headed soldier, and a spaceman with a Boba Fett-like helmet. They were moulded from modified Big Jim action figures, with the barbarian version eventually being chosen to be the centre of the toy line. Once He-Man was their hero and Skeletor the villain, additional characters would be designed by Mark Taylor with input from Mark Ellis and Paul Cleveland to flesh out the universe. The Masters of the Universe toys would be released to stores in 1982 as a 5.5-inch action figure. A total of 8 figures, 2 vehicles, 1 playset and a Battlecat were released as the first of 6 waves between 1982 and 1987. The most powerful man in the universe, He-Man was the figure that started it all. In today's standard, he's a pretty basic mould, but is still a very striking looking figure. The iconic big muscles, blonde hair, and grey chest armour. He was nothing like any other toy in his era. He-Man is equipped with his half of the power sword, which when joined with Skeletor's sword is able to open Castle Grayskull. He also has a battle shield which clips onto his wrist. His armour is able to hold a weapon in the back, so the power sword can be swapped out for his third weapon, the smashing axe. A blue variant would later be included in the weapons pack set. Most figures in the line with a standard body mould would all include a spring-loaded mechanism at the waist that would give a punching action. The He-Man figure would set the tone for how exciting the toy line was going to be for the future. There are not many villains as memorable as Skeletor, Lord of Destruction. With blue skin, a skull face and purple armour, he is instantly recognisable. His main weapon is his ram's head Havoc staff that is used to channel his magic. He also holds the other half of the power sword that joins with He-Man's sword. Like most figures, Skeletor has the punch feature as well. This works well when swinging the Havoc staff, as long as it doesn't have loose hands like this one. The mould used on Skeletor's arms and legs with the clawed hands and webbed feet would go on to be used by many of the future villains in the line. Beastman is Skeletor's number 1 henchman. With his bright orange fur and ape-like appearance, the figure makes him look more fearsome than portrayed in the cartoon and is quite different to the bright red colour design in the mini-comics. Beastman's armour is made up of an over-the-head chest piece and shoulder spikes for each arm. The entire armour would be released in yellow with the weapons pack, along with the whip he is armed with. The whip looks comically large because it is a recycled accessory from the Big Jim line. The original design for Beastman was actually to be a much larger repaint of the gorilla from the same series. Man-at-Arms, Attorney is master of weapons and all things mechanical. He wears a green jumpsuit with orange armour and a blue helmet. This was released before the cartoon, so he's without his signature moustache. His armour is more technology-based than any other character in this wave, and there are 3 parts to it. There is an arm guard that runs down his arm for battle, a shin guard that can be worn on either leg, and then there is his futuristic body armour with hoses and wires built onto it. The earlier versions of the figure have red dots on the helmet. These were painted over for later releases. Once again, the punch feature is well used here. Man-at-Arms can swing his mace and attack his enemies. Man-at-Arms is the only science-based figure in this predominantly barbarian-based wave, opening the door for more robotic and tech-based characters later on in the series. Teela was the first of only 3 female characters in the entire line. The original design was for the figure to have dual identities. There was the goddess from a mini-comic storyline, and when the headdress is removed, we have the heroic warrior Teela that we know now. The goddess role would then be taken over by the sorcerer soon after. Teela came with 2 accessories, a warrior shield that clips onto her wrist, and she has her snake staff which matches the headdress. The female mould used on Teela would be again used for Evelyn in Wave 2. There would be no further female characters until Sorceress in the final wave in 1987. Mer-man, the Ocean Warlord, another of Skeletor's henchmen. Arguably one of the most competent of the henchmen. His look is different to the mini-comic and strangely is the only figure that differs from the packaging images. Mer-man is equipped with his corn on the cob sword. It's supposed to be the nose of a swordfish, but it looks like corn. He has a well-designed vest and a removable shell-like belt buckle. Mer-man has the same mould as Skeletor's body and limbs, and the head sculpt would be again used on Stinkor in Wave 4. Mark Taylor originally conceived Stratos, the Winged Warrior, as a villain, but later changed him to becoming a heroic warrior just before the release of the toys. He is a species that is half ape, half birdman. His grey fur is quite different to the mini-comics where he had a flesh-coloured skin. He's the only figure in this wave to not come with any weapons. His only accessories are his jetpack and the wings on both arms, and these came in a red and a light blue combination. The figure here is a bit of a mismatch. He usually has red wings and a blue jetpack, or the other way around. Other than the Stratos head, he uses the exact same mould as the Beastman figure, but this one wouldn't be used again after this wave. Zodac, the Cosmic Enforcer. Zodac was the last designed in this wave and is supposed to be a neutral character. His mission is to maintain balance between good and evil. He's equipped with a red laser and wears a space helmet and Enforcer's vest. The laser would be reused again later with Cobra Khan and is also included in the weapons pack along with a black version of the vest. The Zodac figure is a mix of human and villain body parts, which I guess emphasises him being neutral. Battlecat, the ferocious tiger, carries He-Man into battle. Used by Mattel multiple times in previous toy lines, is now repainted in green and wears a red saddle and helmet. There's no articulation or special features. The only play feature is the ability to remove the armour. Mattel wanted to use the tiger mould, but it was out of scale to the figures, so Mark Taylor designed the saddle and the helmet so that He-Man could ride the tiger. Like He-Man, Battlecat was not originally designed to have a dual identity. Cringer would not be introduced in the comics and cartoon till later in the year. This gave a new way of playing, now a 2-in-1 toy. Even today it's nice to have Cringer on the shelf next to Prince Adam. The He-Man Battlecat combination is still to this day one of the most iconic pairing of action figures in history. The tiger mould and the saddle would be later used on Panther in Wave 2. So that was Wave 1, the toys that launched the world of Eternia to us 80s kids. Over the next few years, 6 more waves would follow. In 1982, Masters of the Universe figures would go on to sell $38 million worth of toys for Mattel just in the US alone, but that was only just the beginning.